guys, my name is Hamza Arshad, and today we will be covering the topic Understanding Averages under SAT Mathematics. Okay, so first off, we have mean, right? So whenever SAT gives you a question about mean, there's two types of questions that you can get. There's one that involves ungrouped data, and the other one that involves group data. So ungrouped data is basically that they give you some discrete values and they're not really arranged in any way, right? They're not arranged in a table, for instance. While the group data, you can see here as well, in the example that I made, this is a table. So the data has been arranged such that first you have, for example, if there's a question about test marks in a class of 12, then you have a column. You basically have a row or a column for marks, and then there's another one for the number of students, which is also the frequency. So 3 is the number of students that have a mark that scored basically 20. 4 is the number of students that scored 18, and so on. So this is basically your grouped data. Now, first of all, when we talk about ungrouped data, when we have to find out the average of that, we are simply going to sum all of these values up and then divide by the number of values that we have. So the number of values that we have is also referred to as the frequency. So if we have test marks up to 20 for a class of 12 and these are the values, then you will simply add up all of the marks and then you will divide it by the frequency or the number of students which we're talking about. Now, next up you have group data. Now here, one thing that you can do if you just apply the same thing that we did for ungrouped data by summing all of the marks up, then one thing you can do is simply add up all of the marks, right? So I've written here either 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 18 plus 18, but you already know that this is pretty time taking. So just a better way to go about this is a formula that we generally know for mean, and that is summation of fx over the summation of f. So this is basically the number of objects, in this case the number of marks, and this is basically the sum of the multiple of the number of objects also. This is the total number of objects. Like if you have a class of 20 people, then this will be 20. Now here you have the number of objects and here you have the relevant value. So for example, if we have to find out the fx for this group data that we have in the question, then the fx, the sum, so basically the fx, if you make another row for this, for this one, it will be 20 times 3, which is 60. The fx for this one will be 18 times 4. Here, 18 is essentially the x and 4 is the f because it is the number of students that have that certain mark. So here you have 72, here you will have 32, and here you will have 12 times 3, which is 36. So the summation of fx will be the sum of all of these fx. So when we add all of these up, like let me just add this, plus 72 plus 32 plus 36, 200 is summation of fx, and the summation of f is simply the total number of samples that we have, the total number of marks that we have. And since this is a class of 12, the total number of the samples are 12 because you have 12 marks. So this sums up mean. Now let's move on to median. Now, when we talk about median, again, there's ungrouped and grouped data. So first of all, let's just talk about the ungrouped data. Now, within the ungrouped data, you have two types of questions that you can give you. In the first one, you have an odd frequency, and in the other one, you have an even frequency. So here you have an ungrouped data like this one. So 1, 2, 4, 6, 9, 13, 15. So basically, when you have odd frequency, you will choose the middle number or the middle value. So here you can see that the middle value is clearly 6 because there are 3 numbers on this side and 3 numbers on this side. Now if you have an even frequency, you cannot have a solid middle number. The middle number should lie here, right? 4 on this side and 4 on this side. So what you will do is you will take the middle two numbers. So these are the middle two numbers. You made this bundle of sorts, and on both of the ends you have equal number of numbers. So here you have 3 and here you also have 3. So that is how we know that these are the middle two numbers. So what you're going to do with the middle two numbers is you're going to simply find out their middle value, or you could find out their mean, which is basically the same thing. If you want to find out the middle value of these two numbers, then you will find out their mean, which is simply, for example, in this case, 6 plus 9 divided by 2, because this is the number, it's essentially the number of numbers, right? 6 and 9 are two numbers, so we're just going to divide them by 2, and we get the median as 7.5. Now let's move on to grouped data, right? Just a second. All right, so here you have the group data. Here you have a table where initially what they're just gonna give you is this part of the table, the x and the f. So f here is the frequency. So the first thing that you should do in such questions is to add a column for cumulative frequency. So you will see that what cumulative frequency it is basically us just adding up the frequency. So here you have 3, so you're just going to write 3. Now here you have 6, so you're going to add 3 with 6 and you will get 9. So here you have 9 and here you have 5, so you will add 9 and 5 and you will get 14. Here you have 14 and 4, so you will add 14 and 4 and you will get 18. So you can see that the total frequency is also 18. So this is how you make a cumulative frequency one. Next thing you're gonna do is see the frequency. The frequency here is 18, right? So what you're going to do is since frequency is basically the number of items, so you can also say that this is n, because here in this formula n is basically referring to the total frequency. So 18 plus 1 upon 2 gives you 9.5. So basically whenever you get a number, you can either get two kinds of number. You can either get a whole number in this case, or a number that has a 0.5 attached to it. So whenever you get a 0.5 number, then what you're going to do is you're going to find out the middle value, right? So here you have 9.5, you're going to find out the middle value of 9 and 10, because 9.5 lies between 9 and 10. So when we talk about this case, the ninth value is 4, the 10th value is 6. So the ninth value plus the 10th value divided by 2, because we're finding out the middle value between the ninth and 10th. So 4 plus 6 divided by 2, that gives you 5 as the median. So just to sum up what we did right now, if n plus 1 upon 2 is a whole number, the corresponding value of x is the median. Or if n plus 1 upon 2 is x.5, then the median is the middle value of x and x plus 1, because x.5 is the midpoint between x and x plus 1. Alright, so that also sums up the median. Let's move on to the mode and the range. So basically, when we talk about the mode and the range, first of all, let's talk about the mode. The mode is basically just the most repeated value in the data set. So it's pretty simple. For example, if you have this data set given to you, you can see that the value that is being repeated the most is 20. So the mode is 20. And here, um, the fourth heading here is range, right? So the range is the difference between the largest value and the smallest value of the data set. So here in this data set, you can see that the largest value is 10 and the smallest value is 0. So the range will be 10 minus 0, and that will give you the range as 10. So this basically sums up understanding of averages. for SAT Mathematics.